Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from across European football. For your viewing pleasure this morning, I've got Henry Hill, a very ill Henry Hill, or at least his voice is completely gone. Henry, are you there?
I blame you, Doogie. I blame you. It was your pub quiz on Friday which pushed me over the edge, the euphoria of the evening. But yeah, no. For everyone out there, Doog hosts a fantastic pub quiz. But yes, my voice... hopefully it will stay with me for this episode, but I'm not convinced. Doogie, how are you? You right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hosted a charity pub quiz every year for Prostate Cancer UK and raised, I think it was about £1,400 in the end, thanks to everyone's generosity. So no, it was a great evening. I hope you guys watching all had an excellent weekend too. But let's crack on with the footy because there's a lot to discuss. Let's start with our story of the week, Henry. And it's about Pochettino and his potential future at PSG being under threat. What's going on with this one?
Yes, what better way to start a Monday when you're feeling ill than discussing a sacking in the making? So yeah, let's go for it. Pochettino's underwhelming 16-month spell in charge of PSG appears to be coming to an end, with the Times reporting that Antonio Conte is a leading candidate to replace him. We saw a rumour yesterday by Get French News that he's offered himself to PSG, which seems like quite a bizarre things have happened. But anyway, after a few good weeks actually for PSG, where they've been rolling teams over, hitting like an average of 5 goals, it kind of grinded to a halt the weekend after a fairly unremarkable 1-1 draw with Lens. I mean, that did secure PSG the league title, but it was kind of a bit of a flat finish. And the Ultras actually left the stadium at the Parc des Princes with 15 minutes to go. And the players weren't able to do a lap of honour because there were so few fans left in the ground, which is really not great, is it? We saw Neymar coming out afterwards telling people to save their breath because he was going to be there for 3 more years and he didn't want them to boo. You know, there'll be plenty more chances for them to boo him. And it's been building all season, hasn't it? Neymar, Messi, others being whistled. The sporting director, Leonardo, he's come under heavy fire, hasn't he? A lot of people seem to think that he's really the kind of architect of all the discomfort behind the scenes. And the club's commercial expert, Fabien Allegri, which I don't know if he can be blamed. I think he's done a pretty good job in terms of making PSG what they are. But I mean, I love this. According to The Athletic, the club's president, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, has invited consultants from Harvard's business school to bring a fresh perspective on their failings. I mean, do you need people from Harvard to point it out?
I don't think so, no.
If you get a bunch of overpaid diva millionaires, it's going to fall apart somewhere. Like, I think it's pretty obvious where it's kind of gone wrong. And maybe the manager could be where it's at. But yeah, the Times claim that the club are aware of Antonio Conte's interest in the role. But Zinedine Zidane is thought to be first choice. We've been pushing this, haven't we? But the thing is, like, if Pochettino and his staff are fired, they'll be entitled to just under 15 million euros in compensation, which is kind of similar to what they got, I think, when Spurs let them go, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I mean, Dukes, let's just think about his Conte link for a second. How likely do you think it would be that he would ditch this Tottenham project, which is looking fairly positive, I'd say?
Yeah, I mean, their results have been up and down, very inconsistent, haven't they, up until the last 6 weeks or so, where they seem like they've hit their stride a little bit more. Obviously, a disappointing draw with Brentford on Saturday night, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, these PSG links. Obviously, we know PSG are obsessed with winning the Champions League. And Zidane is known as a bit of a Champions League specialist. He obviously had a phenomenal team, but that shouldn't diminish his achievements in winning 3 back-to-back Champions League titles. Whereas the Times, I didn't actually get this stat for myself, the Times claim that Conte has only ever won 1 Champions League knockout game, which I couldn't actually believe in his entire management career. Obviously took Inter Milan to a Europa League final, but was really pretty disappointing during his spell at Inter in the Champions League. But it really depends on Spurs as well. Are they willing to back Conte sufficiently? We know that they need a big overhaul of their squad, despite their positive work in the January window, bringing in Bentancur and Kulusevski, but they're currently 22 points off Man City as it stands. And Antonio Conte is not the sort of manager, not the sort of personality that would hang around at Spurs to finish in a top 4 or compete for a top 4 race every year. He wants to be winning the big titles, he wants to be winning the big trophies, so he will need to be back sufficiently. They obviously need probably a left-sided centre-back to replace Ben Davies going forward, potentially another couple of full-backs as well. So Reguilon's not covered himself in glory so far this year. Matt Doherty's really stepped into, a pretty good vein of form in the last month or so. They probably needed a couple of additional midfielders and maybe some more firepower up front as well. But if they finish outside the top 4, which does look fairly likely, Arsenal are 2 points ahead and they've got that game against Arsenal, of course, as well, then the chances of Conte leaving seem so much higher. And the rumours are that Pochettino and Conte could effectively swap jobs. Pochettino returns to Spurs, the place that sacked him in November 2019, which looks like a bit of an error now, because if they hire him, under 3 years later, what has really changed? Not a lot. Could they have kept Pochettino and backed him originally? Yes, they should have. But how will Pochettino be remembered at PSG? Not particularly fondly. He is the first PSG manager to win under 70% of his games since 2013 when Carlo Ancelotti was there. And that PSG side under Carlo Ancelotti, with Zlatan and Lavezzi, was a very different side to the one that's been invested in so heavily over the last 3 or 4 years. He obviously failed to overturn that gap to Lille last year. They've already dropped points in 10 league games this year, and that's only been topped twice in the last 6 years. And obviously there's a few games to go in that as well. And obviously you throw in that humiliating 3-2 loss to Real Madrid in the Champions League as well, where they conceded 3 goals in 17 minutes, and it just hasn't been a happy spell. Henry, do you think it's likely that Pochettino will return to Spurs, or do you think another job would suit him better?
I think 100% he will return to Spurs at some point. I sadly think that's maybe his level. I don't think the door's open to the real big boys for him at the moment. I mean, maybe one day Barcelona if the Xavi project doesn't work, but really I think like a Spurs Sevilla kind of club is the level he'll be looking at the moment. If Lopetegui moves on, I could see him going to a club like Sevilla. So yeah, why not go back to Spurs? It's still a great job. It's still one of the richest, best clubs in the world with a great stadium, let's face it. And I do think he should go back there, along with Christian Eriksen. Why aren't they going to go? They should sign him in the summer. They should do everything they can. So yeah, I think Spurs is a likely move back for Pochettino at some point. Some matches just make sense, and I feel like that's one of them.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him. He's gone to PSG, he's had a pretty bad spell there, and this is a guy that was linked with the Juve jobs, the Bayern Munich jobs after leaving Spurs, and now I just can't see him getting those jobs this summer. So I agree with you, it's going to have to be another nearly club for the next 2-3 years, and then potentially rebuild his reputation and go for one of the big boys once again. But guys, what do you make of these rumours? Do you see Conte leaving Spurs for PSG this summer? Let us know in the comments down below, and let's move on to our result of the week.
Okay, it's time for our result of the week, and where else would we be than in Andalusia, which hosted the Copa del Rey final. Real Betis won, Valencia won, Betis win on penalties. This comes in from @MullerBars82. Doogie, you called an extra time victory for Los Beticos. What a game. It's 1-1, doesn't do justice to just how nuts this game was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I said they'd win in extra time. They couldn't get it done in extra time. They got it done on penalties. But this was a really crazy game. Like, great chances for Betis in particular. Some horrendous fouls flying in as well. It was such a bizarre game. It was really, really ill-tempered as well. But in the end, Manuel Pellegrini led Real Betis to their first Copa del Rey triumph since 2005, and only the 4th major trophy in their history. They'd won La Liga in 1934-35, the Copa del Rey in 1977, and 2005, as I just mentioned. They had won the Segunda Division in the intermittent period, but this was their first major trophy in 17 years. It wasn't a vintage game, as I said, but Betis were the deserved winners. They hit the post twice through Sergio Canales and Juanmi, whilst Fekir and Borja Iglesias had their efforts saved by Mamardashvili as well, who had a great game in the Valencia goal, stepping in for Jasper Cillessen. They took the lead through Borja Iglesias, who headed home a wonderful header, actually.
Yeah, what a header.
From the Panda after 11 minutes from Bellerin's excellent cross. You know, Bellerin rolling back the years to about 2014-15, his peak at Arsenal in that goal. It was an excellent run and cross from him. And then Hugo Duro equalised for Valencia, another excellent goal as well, chipping the ball over an outcoming Claudio Bravo after 30 minutes. And it continues Hugo Duro's remarkable turnaround. So get this, I didn't actually know this until recently, but basically, in January 2019, he was heavily mocked while playing for Getafe against Valencia in the Copa del Rey. So Valencia needed 2 goals to win in stoppage time in this game. Rodrigo scored, now at Leeds United, and then Getafe broke clear, only for Hugo Duro to accidentally block the goal-bound shot of his teammate Jorge Molina with his back, unfortunately. Valencia then broke again and scored again through Rodrigo to go through. And Valencia fans then started mocking Hugo Duro prettily more remorselessly, really. They had T-shirts printed with the commentator's famous line that night, which was "Toco on Hugo Duro," which was it hit Hugo Duro. Valencia, of course, then went on to win the Copa del Rey that year, beating Barcelona in the final. So he became a bit of a cult figure of mocking, basically, a bit like a sort of Harry Maguire-esque meme that we have in the UK at the moment, which is pretty rude as well. Anyway, when Jose Bordalas arrived from Getafe last year, who did he bring with him? Hugo Duro. And actually, he's played really, really well this year. He's got 9 goals and 4 assists in 35 games. Still really young. I still think he's only about 22. And he got 3 goals in the Copa del Rey, including one versus Athletic Club in the semi-final as well. Sadly for him, though, he ended up on the losing side on this occasion. But Henry, let's give some praise to Manuel Pellegrini and Joaquin and all the other Betis heroes.
Before we do that, can you just say Hugo Duro one more time? I really enjoyed that.
Hugo Duro.
There it is. Very good. Yeah, no, what a goal from him. But yeah, what a time for Manuel Pellegrini in his remarkable career. He joked, this is his first trophy in Spain, I believe, but he joked that he'd won the Intertoto with Villarreal back in 2004. But I mean, that competition was just bonkers. But yeah, he's finished 3rd and 2nd in 4 years at Villarreal, won 75% of his games one season at Real Madrid, won the Prem and scored 100 goals in 2013-14 in Manchester City, and also took them to the Champions League semi-finals. And now has ended Betis' trophy drought. I mean, he really tremendous effort. Dukes, you joked the other day about his fashion sense and what he's wearing on the touchline. I saw a great stat which says,
I think they call it a glow up.
They say it says that Betis have won 68% of matches when he's worn the full Kappa tracksuit as opposed to a shirt and a tie. This was reported in The Guardian. And so yeah, apparently he deliberately wore his Kappa tracksuit again because it gives them luck. It's delivered the results. It is pretty cool. Their kit is pretty on point this season, it has to be said. The only thing about this game, though, is that it kind of ended on a sad note for Yunus Musa, who missed his kind of decisive penalty over the bar, allowing Juan Miranda, who came on in extra time, to tuck away the decisive strike. Juan Miranda was a fan at the 2005 final, watching on, and then 17 years later, scoring the winning penalty. Pretty beautiful story once again. But there were just loads of great stories in it. I mean, we've got to talk about Joaquin. 40 years old, set to retire, came off the bench 86th minute, dribbled past 3 players, ended up taking his penalty. Not a great penalty, must be said.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was a terrible penalty. That would have really put a blemish on the day. But yeah, that trophy lift, the celebrations after the match were stunning. Like all the Betis fans with their scarves, singing the anthem. You can see what it means. And I love this about the Copa del Rey. The last 4 years now, we've seen Valencia, Sociedad, now Betis win with a Barcelona win either side. And I think between 2010 and 2018, it was just all Barca, Real, one title for Atletico. So it's good to see the joy and the history being spread around Spain once more. But yeah, so I mean, what a season for Real Betis. They're still going strong. They're 5th in La Liga, 4 points off 4th place Atletico Madrid. Obviously, don't have to worry about qualifying for the Europa League anymore. That's all tied in. They've delivered Joaquin that kind of amazing end to the season he was looking for. Let's remember he was at the 2005 triumph, so he's won 2 trophies now, 17 years apart. That's kind of not nuts, isn't it? So yeah, it's been an amazing season for them. Well played to Borja Iglesias as well. I think he picked up man of the match for a really solid performance. But yeah, I mean, this is a special Betis side, as we kind of discussed the other day. It's got momentum, and with Real Madrid and Barcelona unable to pinch players in the way that they used to, I feel like we're seeing the gap really closing between some of the smaller sides in La Liga and the big sides, because there's less kind of predators other than maybe the Premier League out to get them, which is maybe a problem which the German league is certainly suffering from. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's a really special sort of composition of players. You've got players like Hector Bellerin going back to the club, which his dad supported. He did a lovely post after the game. Juan Miranda, as you already mentioned. Sergio Canales, who sort of rebuilt his career through Valencia and Real Sociedad after that disappointing sort of one season at Real Madrid. And then a bit of star quality in it as well with the likes of Nabil Fekir, who I still struggle to understand why he's at Real Betis. I think he could play at a higher level than that, but they're certainly not complaining. And they've got a manager who knows how to get the best out of his players, who, aside from a very disappointing spell at West Ham in a really controversial and sort of ill-fated and angry period for the club, has done an exceptional job wherever he's been. So massive credit to Real Betis. They play the better football than Valencia throughout this season. very few neutrals would be cheering on Valencia, given the sort of way that Peter Lim has ran that club over the last few years as well. So huge credit to Real Betis, and it was a story that, will live long in the memory.
Absolutely. All right. Shout out to Salernitana, by the way. 3 wins in a row, beating Fiorentina. Love to see it. The survival's alive. Anyway, let us know what you thought of Betis' victory below. If you're a Betis fan, we'd love to hear from you. We're going to move on to our star of the week.
Okay, there were quite a few shouts, which Henry will get onto in just a second, but the one we've gone for is Hakan Calhanoglu, who was suggested by @Rama-Wibu. Why was that, Henry?
Yes, before we get on to Calhanoglu, shout out to Bayern Munich and PSG winning their respective leagues this weekend. We could have easily given this to Leon Goretzka for running the show versus Dortmund falling flat once more, or Andrea Pinamonti for his 2 goals versus Napoli. And why Dimitrievski has been overlooked for this section, I'll never know. His amazing performance and goal for Rayo Vallecano in their shock win against Barcelona. But you're so right. We have to go to Hakan Calhanoglu for his role in a crucial, massive win for Inter Milan. He grabbed 2 assists as Inter beat Roma 3-1 on Saturday. One, an excellent through ball to Dumfries, who popped up from out of nowhere as like some striker and put away a striker's finish too.
It was a great finish. Yeah.
Really great goal. And then a second was a corner for Lautaro Martinez, inexplicably unmarked in the box, I should add. And he's the smallest player for Inter Milan. That really shouldn't be happening. He was involved in all 3 goals. His 90 looked like this: 1 tackle, 4 interceptions, 90% pass accuracy, 2 key passes, 2 shots. And he's now got 7 goals and 10 assists in 30 Serie A games this season, mocking everyone that thought this was a bad idea when he signed at the start of the season. He's more than just sort of a long ball, set piece, long shot specialist, actually. I think he's really come of age this season. But yeah, I mean, this is great news for Inter Milan, isn't it, Dukes? They've really got a foothold, other than maybe AC, but they're really going for it now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're banging form. I think Milan are sort of struggling. I mean, they got that crucial win against Lazio last night, thanks to Tonali, last-minute winner. But yeah, Inter just seeming great form at the moment after that sort of dip from, I think they won 3 of their opening 9 league games of 2022, and putting that great display against Liverpool in the Champions League as well. But now that win against Juve, this win against Roma, they are really ticking. And it now means that they've beaten Roma by an aggregate score of 6-1 this season. Jose Mourinho against his former club as well. Inter Milan giving him a great reception last night with the Inter Milan fans, and he seemed really appreciative of that, but he won't be enjoying what he's seen from his side against Inter this year. And Inter were just super effective in this game. They had 11 shots, but they got 8 on target, which is an incredible conversion rate compared to Roma's 9 and 2. And it feels like they kind of deserve Serie A this year. They've lost the fewest games in Serie A this season with 3. They've scored 12 more goals than anyone else, and they've conceded the fewest goals too. Expected points rates them as by far the best side in Serie A, ahead of Napoli as well. They have that game in hand, huge game in hand against Bologna on Wednesday, because, as I said, Milan's 2-1 win over Lazio means they are still 1 point ahead of the Nerrazurri, with 5 games to play for Inter and 4 for AC Milan. And with the title being sewn up by Bayern Munich in Germany, the title being sewn up by PSG in Liga, and Real Madrid probably looking, Real Madrid are going to win La Liga as well. We do have a title race in England, but yeah, it's really so tight in Serie A as well. It's one worth keeping your eye on over the next few weeks. And yeah, it looks like Inter will probably get over the line now. Although a great performance from Olivier Giroud as well last night. What a free signing he's been. But guys, that's all we've got time for on ERU for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show as ever. Sorry, it came from a slightly empty room of mine. I'm moving house next weekend, so next week's ERU will come from a new location. So get excited for that. But yeah, a week's worth of moving stress for me to deal with. But Henry, if they've enjoyed this show, what should they go and watch now?
Oh, we had a 10 this weekend, which is 10 players excelling in different positions. You can see how Mkhitaryan's become a mezzala for our Italian fans out there. And also we've got a explain on what the Everton, what's going wrong. Looks like they could genuinely get relegated. Go check out what that might mean to them in our latest Explained on FD.
Perfect, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you later in the week. Bye.